In December 2015, Storm Desmond hit the UK. The town of Hawick was one of the worst affected places and sustained severe damage. 600 people were evacuated from their homes as the River Teviot reached its highest level for 30 years, bursting its banks and destroying the sewerage system that ran under it. Working in partnership with Scottish Water, Morrison Construction was called upon to undertake the complex repair and restoration project. Morrison Construction's contract manager Drew Mackey talks to marketing and communications consultant Lisa Jackson about the damage caused by Storm Desmond and the initial problems he faced.
Well, I got the phone call from Scottish Water. It was late on a Friday night. It was winter time, it was heavy rains, and we discovered that basically the full area was flooded and the sewage infrastructure had actually collapsed and was in the river. So we had to basically get to site, mobilise, contact Scottish Water, contact the council and create an overpumping system which went across the river and into the other manhole. So that was the first task, to basically make sure that that sewage system was up and running again.
Was there anything you had to do in particular before you had to start the works?
First and foremost, we had to make sure that we had everything in place environmentally. We had to make sure that the health and safety aspect had been looked at to get the temporary pumping system into place first, and then once we were comfortable with that, we had to sit back and say, right, what is going to be the permanent solution here, which was a bigger problem than they thought. The design was an important factor to get it right first time. We were going to do the right thing for the permanent solution, which was to be in place for a long time. The understanding with the communities to make sure that they were aware of how long we were going to be here. We also had to speak to the councils to obtain the road closures, to get them talking to us and make sure that they were happy with the road closures that we had in place. And also speaking to the local authority, the council, just to make sure they were understanding of what we were doing in this area. Overall, I think we basically overcame those challenges that were put in front of us.
Stuart Cochrane was responsible for managing the site and the ongoing works.
Can you tell me, Stuart, about what happened to the sewage system and how it was damaged here in Hawick?
The sewage system starts on this side of the river that we're standing on, and it went across under the river up onto the bank and on the other side to the sewage treatment works. After the flood, part of that sewage system was washed away, so that meant there was sewage pouring into the river. That's where it was going, so they had to set up a temporary solution of overpumping from this side to the other side across the footbridge at my back here. That meant pumps going 24/7 every day of the week outside people's houses on this side.
And talk me through the work that was undertaken to repair the damage.
We had to go under the river with a new sewer system, which involved a piling solution. The problems with a piling solution, you're relying on the river levels and the weather. So the timing of the works had to be undertaken at historical low levels of the river, which was August, September, around October. The piling solution meant we had to get heavy piling rigs into the river, and that was done from the far side. If the weather changed, you had to get all the plant out the river quick. The ramps we formed down the far side allowed for the plant machinery to get in and out the river at any sign of the river rising. Environmental wise, one of the conditions for working in this river was we had to fill in the riverbed which had been washed away during the storm. So the stone we had to put in there had to come from the river. So we chose an area upstream and transported stones from the river down to here and placed it in the riverbed here. At all times we also had to keep the river flowing past the works to allow fish, etc. to travel up and down the river. So that was one of the biggest problems, was keeping the river flowing past our works at all times.
Former chair of Hawick Community Council, Marion Short, talks to Lisa about the impact the flood damage had on local residents.
The effect of the flood was quite catastrophic for everybody, not just in the particular site we're standing on at the moment. The whole length of the river coming through the town, there was loads of businesses, houses, all flooded, clubs. Lots of people were decanted, made homeless. It was actually heartbreaking to see so many people affected by the damage caused by the water.
Can you tell us how Morrison Construction, Scottish Water and the local community council all worked together to help overcome the problems that the local residents had?
from the very outset, the Community Council became very actively involved with Scottish Water and Morrison Construction. Both companies sent representatives along to speak to a meeting of Hawick Community Council, and the members of the public were invited to come along and hear what the problems were, how they were anticipating correcting the situation. And then on top of that, Morrison Construction and Scottish Water, they provided a public exhibition and showed all the work they were planning to undertake and any problems that they were at the time encountering. So we were very grateful for all the constant communication.
So what would you say your overall experience was like of working with Morrison Construction?
From a community council perspective, from a personal perspective, very professional. They were very community orientated and were very keen to help thereafter. They approached me and said that they would like to do something to help the community, and they made a very considerable donation to the community council, which we in turn are ploughing into the provision of new Christmas lights for the town, so everybody gains the benefit from that. They just wanted to help for all the inconvenience, and whilst it wasn't their fault, they certainly really pulled out the stops and provided us with all that after the event. So we were very grateful for that, very grateful.
In February 2017, work was completed to the sewerage system. The roads were opened and life got back to normal for the residents and businesses in Hawick. Morrison Construction continues to deliver positive outcomes for customers with challenging and complex projects, building strong relationships, providing excellent customer service, and continuing to be Scotland's leading provider of design, engineering and construction services.